and the glare from this.
Just start the live and you're just grabbing about the glare like an old. Hello, friends and brothers. This is Just with Masonic Improvement. Join my co-host Dennis Yates and our illustrious Inner Circle brothers. How are y'all?
Wonderful. Yourself?
I am outstanding. Fantastic. How about everybody
Another
else?
great week. Good week for Freemasonry. And the beginning of the month, here we go.
Yep, new month, new meetings. All the fun that comes from sitting in business meetings.
Yes, and if you're not careful, your DDGM is going to be showing up this month.
Yep.
So be ready, guys. It's coming.
I'll be traveling with. I won't travel with, but I'll be going to all of the stadium meetings in my district because our district deputy will be traveling for his official visits. So,
now you show up.
Yeah.
I know how y'all are. You guys.
By the way, I'm district
during the official visit. Yeah, the whole team gather around. It's funny. Anyways, so actually we have a couple cool things. One of our Inner Circle members hosted at Guadalupe Lodge. They hosted the district forum. It's actually the forum and not forum and exam, the candidate forum for the candidates who have made themselves available for the Grand South, and gave them an opportunity to speak on topics that are important to them. And I think that's a great thing. I think we ought to have more of them that are broadcast, and this one is broadcast so any of you that want to go to the site and check it out, if you missed the live stream yesterday, it is at centraltexasfreemason.com. Is that correct, Jason?
Well, no, it's actually it's called the Central Texas Freemason Facebook page. It's not a website.
Oh, okay. It's not a website. Oh, forgive me. I'm sorry. They play on rented space. They don't play around on owned space. So okay. But anyways, Jason, go ahead. Take it from here. Jason helped put it all together, and we're real proud that he did that. It's a great service to the fraternity.
Yeah. So this is the second year for District 35. We have District 35 A and B, and it was for both districts. And it was held at Guadalupe Lodge, mainly because there's a couple of reasons. First off, it's one of the bigger lodges as far as space wise, and then we actually upgraded last year for our internet service, so we actually have Starlink. So we had a really stable platform to be able to live stream, so we weren't constantly glitching out and stuff. But there were several less candidates there, mainly because with the exception of Grand Junior Warden, all of the other open positions only have one candidate. But there's always that possibility that you get to Grand Lodge and someone gets nominated from the floor. So at least two of the positions, one for the Committee on Work and one for Masonic Children and Family Services, the one candidate for those offices showed up. And the way that we run it is basically we give them 2 minutes introduction, and then they get asked a series of questions, and we don't provide the questions ahead of time. So when they hear the questions, first time they've heard it, and then they get 2 minutes to respond. So we have made it a point for our forum, and I think there may have been another forum a couple weeks ago, I think, but we're one of the first forums of the season, and it's intentionally meant to be tough. Like if you come, you be prepared. You're going to be answering questions on the fly, and they're not just softball. Like if you were a tree, what tree would you be? I mean, they're pointed questions and everything. And we actually, because we only had two of the Grand Junior Warden candidates that were actually able to attend. Instead of just 5 questions, they answered 7 questions and went
Nice.
back and
Who
forth.
who were they? Who made the effort to come to the forum?
So George Moxley and Robert Park were able to make it. John Wilkerson had a previously scheduled family reunion up in Oklahoma. Keep in mind, this was Labor Day weekend. So, and we last year, I think we did it a week ahead of time, and it was Saturday evening. This time, we did it a little bit later, mainly because we ran into a conflict with Holland Lodge's festive board.
Yeah, I
And then,
remember jumping on you for doing that, and then I wasn't even able to make it to Holland Lodge, and
right.
I was so.
Womp womp
But
womp.
you were able to make it because so that's good. That's good.
Yeah. But then, so we instead of trying to do it Saturday evening, this time we tried it Saturday morning, where we basically started it at 10. We were done by 11:30, and then Seguin Eastern Star had a lunch for donations. So it was a good chance to go to the forum, and then you could have lunch, and all of the candidates stayed at least for a little bit to answer any questions or talk with guys, and so that you guys got a chance to get to know them. But it seemed to go over really well, and we actually had uh, probably at one point we had 10 people online watching the live stream. So overall, yeah, it actually turned out pretty well, I
Yeah, and
think.
having it recorded and available to people to watch is important.
Right.
So, if you want to send that link to us or whatever, maybe we can do a plug on it with Masonic Improvement and get some more views.
We probably can.
Because that's pretty important for people to see. What were the questions that y'all asked? Do you have those in front of you by chance?
I can pull them up.
I bet you. I figured you could. There's a spreadsheet for that.
You don't have them memorized?
You know,
Man,
y'all make fun, but
But you got it.
I have it.
I can tell you that it was good because me and Brother Burris went yesterday to the forum, and even though those guys that are running unopposed, it was the questions they asked were really good because it got to let you know who those guys are and what they're really looking for, even though they're running unopposed. I mean, it's not a whole lot of matter, but and as far as the questions go, I can tell you by the responses we got and the looks on their faces, they were not known beforehand because a lot of the answers were like, "Oh, well, let me think about that for a second." So yeah, it was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, that's
and we'll
good.
Look forward to going back to next year.
I'm glad
right,
they're
so-
asking those kind of questions because if you're running for an office, you should have the answers. You should already be prepared.
Yeah, and okay, so all right, which questions do you want? Specifically, Grand Junior Warden?
So first, let's go ahead and start with the big one, Grand Junior Warden. Let's start with that.
All right, so the first question was, what is your vision for Texas Freemasonry, and how does the office of Grand Junior Warden contribute to it? So in other words,
Wow,
so like very
that's an important
specific,
one. Yeah, that's the overview.
right? How would you describe the balance between Masonic tradition and the need for modernization?
Let's take these
Yeah.
one by one and see what each one of us has to say about these ourselves and what we think the candidates ought to be thinking about.
Well,
Just-
let's back up and re-ask the last one then. What was
Okay,
the
all right.
first
Yeah,
question?
let's do that first one and do a round robin real quick, and then we'll do the second one, and we'll just go around and
we'll do that, and
let's
then we'll
keep the
then
responses down to less than 2 minutes, guys,
and
because we
then
got a big show.
after the live, you can watch the video and see if their answers were right or not, based off what we said.
Yeah, see if they're on the money.
See if it
See if
checks
they're on
out.
track with what Freemasons really want. Yeah.
And
Let's
I'll,
just clarify that Dennis said to keep everything to 2 minutes, so let's make sure we hold them to the same purview there.
yeah, Dennis.
Well,
Dennis
I'm a
never
host,
goes
man.
over.
So,
No.
and I shall act as moderator so that I don't have to actually answer any of these questions.
There we go. There we go.
All right, what was the first one?
Okay, all right. So, what is your vision for Texas Freemasonry, and how does the office of Grand Junior Warden contribute to it?
That's a good one. Who wants to go first? I'll go last.
I'll go after Dennis.
Okay, I'll go. That's fine. If nobody wants to,
You went from last to front.
no.
Just
Well,
kinda-
if
classic
you guys,
Kind of look like Brad's jumping in there.
okay, go ahead, Brad. What you got?
We'll see how my voice holds up. So my vision for Texas Freemasonry is basically education. Definitely need education brought into all the lodges during the stated meetings, and then having called meetings for education. So I would be, big proponent for that. I was did that during my year in the East as a worshipful master, and I would like to just carry on that vision that I had for the year to change my lodge like I would Texas Freemasonry. And as far as Grand Junior Warden, it would be what would that position be in that? It would basically be, planning that and trying to, because I'm on the board of trustees now, I would be talking to the trustees about how I can implement this in their years, as well as building up to my year as Grand Master if tradition prevailed and I was to be Grand Master.
Great answer. I
That's a very
love
good
it.
answer.
Yes. And I love the fact that you touched on, as a trustee, I would ask the other trustees to start implementing them and build it up to my year so that, yeah, it doesn't put all the spotlight on you trying to do it all yourself in one year. So it makes you look like the big savior of the world. What it does is it starts to create that flow of consistency in leadership. That was a good answer. I like that.
Very good, Brad. I like it a lot.
Who else? Bueller.
Well, I would just reiterate what Brad said. That would kind of be my vision. But one thing that got brought up is everyone's masonry is a little different. So
You can't bring up what they're bringing up. You say what you say.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, and I agree with what they said. Is that everyone's masonry is a little different. So the education part of it may not necessarily. Okay, I'll just say this example. It may not go over in like Cuervo as much as it goes over in Goliad. So it's kind of hard.
What are you trying to say about Cuervo?
I'm not saying anything about Cuervo.
You need Cuervo. You need Cuervo for Cuervo. Yes.
Well,
that is what he's saying.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay. Y'all said it, not me. So it'd be kind of hard to like enforce bringing education. But I think the step on what Brad is saying is that we need to give everyone an avenue for different programs and things like that to be able to bring the education if they want it. Not necessarily like force it and do everything like that, but here's some different programs that you could use for if you want to bring education to it.
I like that.
I think I'm on the fence on that, but I know that that's what has to be done at this point. But I'm gonna say something a little bit different. Go ahead,
Tom, Jason. Nothing, Jason.
I'm the moderator. I'm just telling you whether you're right or wrong.
Oh, okay. That's very safe.
You're just judging us. You're just sitting there judging us on our answers.
Well, I like the whole Red Foreman approach: a beer in every hand and a foot in every ass. But no.
Yes.
Sometimes we need that, right? No.
Cheers. Yes.
No. Other than that, like and Josh hit at it. I think that we as a junior warden, well, also something Brad said, we need to start collaborating with the board, right? Especially the officers in front of us, and we need to start building like some kind of like a coherent program that lasts more than a year. But beyond that, really just opening the doors to to more esoteric concepts. This is probably ultimately once again the East, right? But kind of planting those seeds where education is important, but also opening the doors, however you have to do that, to things like chambers of reflection and things like that are like these taboo approaches where they're not mandatory. None of it's mandatory, but ultimately, by the time you're a worshipful Grand Master and you hopefully have these things where they're allowed, they're available. It's a resource available for lodges, just like education. Like we're really pushing all these fantastic things, what we think is best for the fraternity. And it's up for the individual lodge, right? And it always has been, to sink or swim, to evolve or adapt, to take advantage of certain things or not. But to have these there and to have these approaches available where they can use it, it's not like a taboo thing anymore. And that way these lodges that want to adapt and implement these things can be successful. And they have them available where they're not going to get in trouble for using them. And the lodges that are fine coasting into oblivion don't have to, if that makes sense. Because ultimately we're right sizing. And so as a junior warden, you have to acknowledge the fact that we're right sizing and put these tools in the lodge's tool belts so that they're available to correct that if they choose to. I say correct that, but to be one of those lighthouse lodges that kind of withstands those waves crashing against it or not. It's their decision. It's totally up to them. All we can do is offer best practices. All we can do is offer, like, hey, this is really good to use. Here's why. Education is really important. Here's why. If you don't want to use it in your lodge, that's fine. We can't make you be successful, but here it is.
Okay. So, in my opinion, and I'm a Texan first and foremost. So, and I believe in my freedoms, and I believe in the fact that we are Freemasons because of our stance on our freedom of thought, expression, and not necessarily the right to bear arms, but just kidding. I just thought I'd lighten this conversation up real quick because it's going to get serious. I think that we absolutely ought to have requirements from Grand Lodge, because Grand Lodge gives the lodges their charter. The charter is not theirs to just do whatever they want to with it. The lodges are not allowed to just go willy-nilly and do whatever they want to in their lodge and say, oh, Grand Lodge isn't going to tell me. Well, yeah, Grand Lodge gave you that charter. You're working under the auspice of the Grand Lodge of Texas, and which comes from the mother lodge, Grand Lodge of the United Grand Lodge of England. Does that mean we need to do everything that England does? No. But does that mean that we need to hold on to certain standards and practices? Absolutely. That's why we're in the shithole we're in right now, because we have stopped upholding those standards and values that were once held at a higher state. Now, some may want to be more politically correct. I don't want to be. I think that we ought to be more serious about, of course, education. That is first and foremost, is education. That's what we were founded on. So why have we deviated against that and gone to a civil service group is beyond me. I think we got bored when we had 250,000 members and started doing all these projects because we had nothing else to do with our time and money. Because we weren't getting time in our lodges because there were too many members, and so people started going elsewhere and creating different things to occupy their time, because they weren't getting the face time in lodge that they deserved. So, what I would say, as Grand Secretary, so. That being the premise of, I'm tired of hearing what we can and cannot do in lodges, that, oh, we can't make anybody do it. No, we can't. But the lodge has a charter under the Grand Lodge of Texas, so expectations can be made. They're definitely made with our ritual. They're definitely made with, as a matter of fact, with our proficiencies. You have to know a certain amount before you can move on to the next degree. So why can't you make it another threshold that you have to meet in understanding and knowledge before you go to the next degree? Okay, so let's just get past I'm not even reading y'all's comments. Y'all stop it, damn it. Let's get past that premise. They're all laughing because they're doing it just to mess with me. So let's get past that premise that, I'm tired of people saying that, Grand Lodge doesn't have any authority over my lodge. Well, that's why your lodge is failing. That's why you have 3 members showing up, opening your lodge, and you've run off everybody else because Grand Lodge couldn't tell you what to do, and nobody else could tell you what to do either. So you're there by yourself. Congratulations, you're worshipful master of 3 because nobody else wants to show up to your lodge, first and foremost. Now, what is the Grand Junior Warden's response? What should that be? Unity. After I just blow it all to hell. Unity should be the Grand Junior Warden's first thought in our membership, in our grand jurisdiction. The Grand Master is dealing with the administrative stuff of the day. The Deputy Grand Master has his fingers in every bit of it as well, because if something happens to the Grand Master, that's where he jumps in. So the Grand Master and the Deputy Grand Master are working on the items of today. So it leaves the Grand Senior Warden and the Grand Junior Warden to plan for the future. And of course, it goes with what the other trustees are currently doing, but they're the ones that are planting those seeds for the future. So it goes from their point on. The Grand Senior Warden is trying to plan or execute a lot of the stuff that's happening with the Grand Master, right? That's his job as Grand Senior Warden, is to help execute those plans. Grand Junior Warden, in my opinion, his whole job is running around, visiting the lodges, speaking a message of unity and a focus on the lodges themselves as far as the membership that's already there, creating more value for the lodges within the membership that's already present in these lodges. Because we always have I'm going to hurry. Is that my time?
No, I'm trying to raise my hand. I guess it didn't let me do it because I'm host. Go ahead.
I can do it. I'm co-host. And we're on the same platform, and it still lets me do it.
Oh, that's true. We're in the same. I don't know why it didn't. It has never let me do it. Go on though.
Anyways, so trying to create you're going around to all the lodges telling them thank you, number one, for putting their trust in you, and in that you're talking with them about unity and the different things that they can do to bring value to their lodges. So the Grand Lodge doesn't have to step in. So if they're doing the things that are necessary to create value for the membership that's already there, and well, their membership, I wouldn't say just the membership that's there, right? Because I said before, you have 3 members because they ran off everybody else. So the membership of the lodge, the full membership, all the ones that don't show up also, try to figure out what it is that's going to get those people back in their seats. That should be the focus of the Grand Junior Ward, is working on assisting the lodges in learning how to do those things, adding value with education as well as esoteric education on lodge mastery as far as administrative, as well as esoteric knowledge, helping them create leaders. That would be the junior warden's position in my opinion.
What I really like about
Be a
that
resource.
is, yeah, as a resource, is if you know you have something that either, I mean, like we said, we want to try to build like a longevity kind of plan with these programs and things. But if you have something, you've talked about the other guys and they're just not for it, but you think it's good for the fraternity. It's a good idea. I think it would be to go ahead and start that traveling. And you're talking about unity. You're talking about all these positive things like you're talking about, because it is very important. But you're also educating brothers on why you think certain things are important. You're not being political. You're just educating. That way, when the time comes and you're in the Grand East and you're talking about these ideas, people are already behind it if they're going to be behind it. You've already kind of pre-educated everybody, so you kind of. I mean, if it's a bad idea, you've already told people about it anyway. And it's a bad idea. I mean, problem solved,
and if
right?
it's a bad idea, you're going to hear about it on the trail as you're visiting with all those lodges.
That's very true.
That way, you're fielding your stuff and you're gathering data to shape it to where it is going to work.
Yeah.
Because you want it to be successful. You don't want to just come down with an iron fist like I made it sound like.
Well, I mean, there's some people that, regardless of their feedback, they'll still think they know better.
Oh yeah,
right.
There's
not like we've ever seen that, but it definitely could happen.
Every lodge that should demise or demit, every lodge that should demise or merge right now has that mentality, I guarantee.
But I'd say overall, like, I feel like my approach is pretty libertarian, right? Like, regarding lodges, like, you sink or swim on your own merit, and here's all the tools. Like if we're on the Titanic and I throw you a life jacket and you still drown, that's on you at this point, right?
Well, but that's the thing, is that if we don't have any standardized, if we don't have standards that they must meet, then how do we say, it's time for you to shut the doors because you're no longer representing this fraternity?
Well, that's where I'm going with this. I mean, I feel like mine's like sink or swim by your own merit, and yours is like, look, either do this or you're done. Just finish it out.
That's kind of the same thing. Because I want them to succeed. I want them to do those things. I want them to do what's right for their brethren and stop doing just for those two or three.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to succeed.
Yeah.
But if they're not succeeding, why let them continue just because they have, $10,000 in the bank and they're able to keep that going for the next 20 years? I mean, if they're doing that, something's missing.
I will say, you made the comment, we don't, just because they're doing that in UK doesn't mean we should do it that way. Why not, man? Honestly, like the way they do it over there sounds really appealing. It does. I think every lodge should have a local tavern and or a pub, and that's where you do a lot of things. And you do the chamber. What is that? The
Chamber of Reflection.
No, not just Chamber of Reflection. That's not where we're going with this.
Oh, the festive board.
Yeah, you do the festive board. At the end of every, like link your arms.
Yeah, a lot of the lodges have the bar inside the lodge, and it's a working bar. So you have to pay for your drinks and stuff, and then you go into lodge, and then you come out, and the dinner's there with the festive board and all that. It's part of their dining area.
Yeah,
they have a bartender that keeps it.
If lodges could have working bars, I think a lot of their financial problems would be over. just
yeah.
What's up, Tom? What do you got? You're muted.
You're all mute.
Can't hear you, bud.
There he is.
Now I'm being that I'm kind of an infant in all this. I'm thinking of what the Grand Junior Warden, their responsibilities with the, I guess, refreshment or whatever. But my thoughts on it was they kind of have to be like, how you describe, they kind of lead by example. If you're wanting to try to get more lodges to do education, you almost have to
make an example of that when you are visiting these other lodges, and kind of getting the DDGMs involved with it, and kind of, if you've got enough people at DDGM, you've got the Grand Junior Warden saying that, hey, the education's a good thing, but that was my main thing, because I don't really know what the responsibilities of them are. I know what it is in the regular lodge, but maybe do some educational talks at some of these lodges when they're visiting.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of my take on it. Like, I kind of agree with Dennis. That's where this all started. A couple hundred years ago, they're meeting in the back of the bar and they're having these discussions that are mainly philosophical discussions on how to improve things. And it just seems, my experience so far, you don't see a whole lot of that in the lodges. It's kind of, we're having a dinner, we're having a business meeting. Okay, we'll see y'all next month.
Yeah.
So it's.
And to your point, I'd like to say real quick, Justin. I don't want to take on all the laws that they currently have at the Grand Lodge of England. I mean, they permit different types of they do some stuff that I don't agree with, but I do think that traditionally, if we went back traditionally, that's what I'm talking about, is going back to the basics. We need to go back, and one of the ways, like with what Tom was talking about, have your junior warden travel around with and meet with your new position of the grand lecturer, and have the grand lecturers in every district that are going to talk on esoteric stuff. We have our district instructors, and we have our people that teach the work. Oh, I almost got a thumbs up there. We have our people. I saw a timer for my thumb. Sorry. We have people that teach the work.
No,
why don't we
timer for you?
and we call them mentors in Grandview. So why don't we have a grand lecturer in every, and I know that the district education officer is supposed to be that, but that's not what the role that the ones that I've seen are taking on.
If any role at all.
If any role at all. The district education officers that I've seen are doing the all program and the what is it, the light program, and then also they're helping people with a lot of the forms and stuff that need to be done through the lodge administration, and that's cool. Let them keep that wheelhouse, but then have a district lecturer that will speak on the lectures, that will speak on the esoteric meaning of the lectures, because that's what we Josh, okay, we're gonna keep this moving, but that's been on my mind for a long time, is that we should have examples of how to do these presentations. That's why I'm creating a paper right now on how to presentate, how to create and give a good presentation for your lodge.
That's gonna be a good paper, How to Presentate.
How to Presentate
by D. Nice Yates.
Yes, D. Nice. So anyways, moving on, I think that was a great point, Tom. And yes, the grand junior warden should have some substance to them. They should have a little marrow in the bones, and not just the bones, because they should understand a little bit about that internal and be able to express that with the craft.
And I'll just say,
also,
go ahead.
Well, also too, my experience as a supervisor, you have to have the buy-in from the people in the lodge. And what better way than to have a DDGM saying, this is a good thing that we should be doing. And then you'll get, it's kind of like
depends
things
on
like
the DDGM.
Justin or if you're coming in and you're saying, this is a good thing to do, and then the DDGM has a totally opposite opinion of that, you kind of need to be on the same page. And
DDGMs, if they have an opposite opinion of what Grand Lodge wants from their office, then they need to be kicked the fuck out. excuse my French, sorry, not sorry. Kick them the F out.
Oh, glad you fixed that on his live.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. But that's one of the things that pisses me off more than anything is seeing a DDGM that's not doing what his grandmaster wants him to do and playing it off with the guys in the lodge. Oh, I just have to wear this suit. Oh, I just have to do this. Well, no, you didn't have to. You didn't have to accept that title. You need to take your job seriously and do your job.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry.
What's the next question?
Yeah, we need to move on before
30 minutes later.
I was thinking final thoughts.
So, question number 2. How would you describe the balance between Masonic tradition and the need for modernization?
Oh, looky there. Looky there. Okay, go ahead. We're already touching on this.
Who's got thoughts on this?
I'll do it.
I mean, I can ask questions.
Go ahead, Brad.
Let everybody have turns, Dennis. Then we'll have time for a 20-minute monologue. Go ahead.
Don't make me drop any more F-bombs.
Yes, Brad, sorry.
So,
I get cussed
what
out
we
over
did
here.
in our lodge as far as modernization is we didn't have any kind of like display or TV or anything. So we brought in, me and the secretary brought in a projector and put up a screen, and we would put the agenda on the screen. And you know how we were allowed to post minutes now rather than read them? We posted the minutes on the screen big, and it would flash through the minutes
that's awesome.
of the previous month, so they could log up there and just read them on the screen too.
Shoot, yeah. After dinner, just sit there and watch the minutes and see if you agree. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great idea.
So, it was some kind of modernization to a 100-year-old building, but yeah.
I love it, man.
Yes. And that's exactly what we need.
Who else has thoughts?
Besides,
I think when you think about modernization, I think we need to be able to utilize some of the things we're doing in Goliad is like the Facebook page, the website, things like that. And so you can reach out to different people if they have questions and things like that, but I think, when you think of modernization, you can think of it 100 different ways. I mean, what was it 15 years ago we had MySpace, and now we got Facebook, and now we have iPads and iPhones, and so to be able to utilize some of that stuff to not only for the betterment of the craft, but to be able to, like I said, reach out to some of these people that we could utilize it. That's where we need to be going. Whether someone has a inquiry about what masonry is and be able to reach out to those people and respond to emails and things like that, I think that's where we need to be. We need to head that direction, but also at the same time, keeping with tradition and things of that nature that we've had built on for the past 200 some odd years.
I think you can do it. I think you can do a lot without really sacrificing tradition. And if you look historically, we were always at the forefront of technology. We were always on the cutting edge of things. And then somewhere along the lines, we just stopped doing that. Like when we adopted presentations, like actual presentations during the lecture, that was cutting edge. Like there's some lodges, I know of at least one, where they have like the old, I don't even know what it's called. Like the stained glass. You put the stained glass in there.
I've seen those, yes.
It has like a candle. You put like a candle in it.
Yeah,
stained glass.
Encased in mercury. I mean, it's the real deal.
I mean, we were ahead of the game.
Fully hazardous to your health.
And I know of at least one lodge this was years ago, and I don't think they did it, but they're toying with the idea of like a VR headset for like the Philocraft lecture, like the staircase lecture, and why not? I mean, why not? I mean, why not implement technology where it enriches what we already do? Why not? And obviously, like every lodge should have some kind of online presence. Every lodge should have somebody that is able to to stay on top of things if someone reaches out to them on like Facebook, and they respond in a timely manner. You could do all these things without doing away with what was the actual question? It was doing away with
without jeopardizing tradition or whatever. Modernization without
the balance between Masonic tradition and modernization.
Yeah, and you can do any number of things without. I'm talking about technological modernization here. Technologically, you can modernize just about every facet without doing away with tradition. Now modern values is a totally different thing that I'm not going to touch, because it's all skewed. But technologically, we could definitely adopt many modern facets into the lodge itself to actually enrich what we do.
I agree, and for another idea out there along the lines with what we were talking about even previously is with the Grand Lecturer, right? Well, in New Mexico, I believe it was my buddy, past Grandmaster Tom Shank. During his year, they started allowing to put up TVs in the lodge rooms, and they allow people to zoom in to the lodge room and give presentations, because their lodges are so much further apart than it's like West Texas. The lodges are so far apart that it's hard to have a solid district. Those DDGMs, they really get worn out because it's a lot of travel. But New Mexico is the same way. You'll drive an hour, 2 hours in between lodges in New Mexico. And so they allowed TV screens and they allowed Zoom presentations into the lodge. So what's not to say that you couldn't have a Grand Lecturer that has a presentation for every lodge every month, that's done over Zoom and broadcasted over TV or silver screen, whichever the lodge has, but have it broadcasted to the lodge during the meeting, and it be a 15-minute long presentation with the expectation that you have another 10-15 minutes of discussion afterwards. That is an excellent way of breaking the ice on esoteric knowledge and enhancing the craft and getting us back to our roots. We're actually honoring our tradition of lecturers, and because we used to have lecturers, that's the thing, we used to have them, and honoring that tradition, and also honoring the fact that we used to have discussions within our lodges on esoteric or on philosophical and theosophical matters. So I agree 100%. And not only that, but we have so many ways to improve upon our administrative side as well, especially doing just stupid stuff like having an officer meeting before the next lodge meeting, so that everybody knows what the agenda is and what the flow. Do it on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think everything has to be done at the lodge? If you have a committee, have the committee meet on Zoom. If you have, whatever it is, if it's not official business that needs to be discussed with the lodge itself, then that committee meeting needs to be done deciding on who, what, when, where, and why for the fundraiser barbecue is a committee meeting thing. That is not a lodge meeting thing. So why are you not having that 2-hour discussion in Zoom on your own time instead of bringing that 2-hour discussion into the lodge room? Use technology wisely. That we've got it. Another thing is Grandview. We have the opportunity to use Grandview for not only the secretary side, but the treasurer side as well. Why are we not using that? Our dear friend Robert Marshall said not too long ago, somebody asked about taking credit cards or whatever, using Venmo or whatever. And he said, we've used PayPal for 10 years at Waco 92. And I can't imagine any business or organization doing business without allowing credit cards at this point in time, and not accepting credit cards at this point in time. It just makes absolutely no good business sense. And I 100% agree. We've discussed it many times, and it's just frustrating that you have a few people that are slowing down our ability to get there within our lodges.
Agreed.
Based off of ignorance. Because they can't do it and they want to have control over that position, it doesn't get done.
What's question 3?
Yeah, we need to move on.
Question number 3.
There's going to be charges by the end of this show.
And remember, this is a question for the Grand Junior Warden. So you can kind of think at that level. What specific initiatives would you propose to support lodge education and officer development?
Well, I'm just going to say elections are going to be over by the time we get done talking about these questions.
Do what? What's the question? I was trying to catch back up on all the crap y'all were talking about in the chat while I was talking. I know.
All right. What specific initiatives would you propose to support lodge education and officer development?
Ooh, nice.
I would definitely do the make a OLT requirement.
Yeah.
For every lodge officer, and then they would maybe could have more participation in the OLT and make it a little more affordable. And they could maybe do more of them around the state. I don't know if it was a requirement. I know it helped me out big time whenever I did 101 and 201. That was like the key foundation that built my planning into being the worship master. Without that, I wouldn't have known what to do.
I was going to say the same thing. I was talking to one of the guys here. I don't know if he wants me to say his name or not, but I was talking to him, and we were talking about like the forums that you have to go to that mandatory. He's like, well, I mean, theoretically, you could just sneak in at the end and just get a signature, and if no one catches you, you met the criteria. And also just sitting.
Not if John Peters is your committee on work member. He watches for. I've seen him do it. Call out somebody, say, "Why am I signing this? You weren't here."
Good.
I've seen it. I know it's great.
I'm saying it's probably hard to do, but theoretically it could happen. But even if you set for the whole thing, like you may not learn very much if you're just sitting, because some people learn differently.
Just sitting there watching. Yeah, you're not learning it.
No, I was going to say the same thing about the OLT. Make it a requirement. Make it a requirement. You have to go to OLT if you're going to be one of the main 3 officers. You have to. And if a lodge is like, well, we no one wants to go, or we can't afford to send anybody, or we'll just then fine.
There's your sign.
Fine. There's your sign. Exactly. Like your options are, you can stay where you are for now and kind of get your grandfathered in, or you can demise
give you
emerge.
This many years to get out of your hole.
Yeah.
Or it's time to shut the doors.
Yeah. Because it's that important. It's that valuable. And if you
or we give you this many years if you create an action plan and stick to it.
But if the guys at that lodge don't think there's value, like if they don't think what they're doing is important enough to be trained on how to do it, fine. That's fine. You're welcome to that belief. But you're not welcome to have a lodge after a certain point. Like either get on the bandwagon or turn in your charter or merge. That's it. Because ultimately, like, a forum should be a requirement, because you need to see a forum. There's a huge amount of value, but OLT has a huge amount of value, and we said it before on this show. Just being a past master isn't a criteria. It should not be a qualification to sit in the East again. It feels like, because you should always be growing. You should always be learning. Like if you're a teacher or a principal or any kind of like a manager at some other job, you're always learning. When I was doing financial planning, you're always learning. You have to be. You have to be. So why should you be allowed to run an organization based off something you learned 10, 15, 20 years ago? If you learned anything then. So that's the hill I would die on for that, is you have to go to OLT. It's a requirement now. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to be an officer. And if no one at the lodge wants to do it, that's fine too. You can stay where you are, or you could turn your charter.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's kind of like when you're in business, the managers don't just do that job. They have to be trained on how to do that job. You can't just say, well, I got my bachelor's degree, so I'm qualified to run this plant. No, because you've never run one. So, and even me being brand new, I know that, I don't know anything about running a lodge because I've never run one before. So that's why I went to OLT, even though people say, well, you don't really have to do that because you're going to a low chair. I was like, well, I need to know it anyway. And when I went to OLT, that's when they said, well, when you're the senior deacon, you should already be thinking about that before you even get to the south.
Yep.
Because they said you should be planning at that time, because if you're waiting a year, if you're waiting by the time you get in the west, it's already too late, because it's going to be an uphill battle, and and I figured I would want to know how to do that, because you've got an entire lodge entrusting you that you're going to take care of that lodge for that year. And I think it's more or less, I have an opinion that some people need to take it a little more seriously than they do. And they just think it's a chair I'm in, I'll just be in this for a year and I'll go move to the next one. And I'm totally different on that. I think, yeah, you should know. And that's why even some of our newer guys, even before they're getting to the point where they would go into that position, I'm breaking it down as far as, okay, you're a junior deacon. Okay, this is what your basic job responsibilities are. That's what you're expected to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think a lot of that's even being taught to these guys when they come in. They just do it thinking, I come up to a meeting, I wear my apron, and I know what to say, and that's it.
Oh yeah, they're just worried about
well,
the
everybody's got a job.
Yeah, and in OLT, we were teaching that a lodge should really have a binder that has all the responsibilities of all the different positions in that binder. And
that's what I've already started doing to kind of break it down. Because I know one lodge, I gave it to the junior ward, and I said, hey, here's the thing about some of the responsibilities, and he loved it. He's like, well, this is awesome, because I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, and they should anyways, because it's part of the charges that, all that information came from the charges that were given when we're installed. And it's kind of like the senior deacon, his job is to, carry all messages, all that. Well, let's say the Tyler, for instance. The Tyler's job is to take care of the lodge room, to keep it clean, keep everything on the ready for lodge meetings.
Don't touch your wife that way, Tom. Jeez.
Positions, dude. I've seen you push your kids by their face out of the screen. So don't be getting on to him.
This is my screen.
That was my dog.
Oh, okay.
That was my dog, because he's keep bugging me to get up on the couch, and I'm like,
did he just come onto the screen?
No,
hey, Daniel, what's up?
Hey, Daniel.
Hey, how's it going
he's
tonight?
paralyzed, so he can't just jump onto things. So he just stands at the foot of the couch and begs until
looks humble.
I wanted to.
But I think that. Go ahead
to the conversation, because Brad pointed out about reducing the cost of OLT, and here's what you do, in my opinion. You say, look, OLT is mandatory. There's no that's my thing. That's Grandmaster. OLT is going to be mandatory. But here's the option I'll give you. We can raise per capita by $5 or $10 and lower the cost of OLT, because all that money goes to OLT.
Well, it would have to be more than $5 or $10 if you did that.
Well, the thing is, by the time every Master Mason in Texas pays $5 or $10, that's substantial.
That's true. Yeah.
And we reduce the cost of OLT, or you just pay full price.
I think that, in reality, and most of y'all know this, if you've taken any kind of a economy class, but it's a matter of demand and oh shoot. Come on, Daniel. Now that you're in here, help me.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. So as demand goes up, the costs go down naturally. And so and for that very reason, because the same rented space is still rented, it's still the same cost. There's only minimal. The same people are getting hotels to teach the classes. The same things are happening. So those fixed costs are still are in place. And so as you get more people coming in, you don't have to ask as much of them to cover those fixed costs. Now there are some what's a shit, I hadn't taken that class in so many. There's
variable costs.
There you go. There's variable costs. There you go. Thank you. You're already thinking what I'm thinking. So the variable costs are like the meals and stuff like that. That's going to change, but you basically have your idea of what that's going to be per person anyway. So you'll be able to adjust that, and even that's going to be minimal. So yeah. So as we do have more people going because it's mandatory, we can lower it.
How many dues paying Master Masons would you say are in Texas?
That's hard to say because that's a question for Zach Haston.
Yeah, kind of
because we have to take into account all the 50-year members and all the.
How many Master Masons do we have? Like
we have 54,000 Master Masons right now.
Yeah.
But knowing how many were the actual, is Zach online?
No, I was just saying if even half of them were dues paying members, you did like $5 extra for per capita. That's $135,000 right there.
Right. Yeah, that would cover the budget for OLT.
Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then you could make it even better with $135,000,
or offer it to more places, like they were saying, like you could spread it out a little bit more.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Make it better so you can offer more. The reality is that we need to have those kind of standards in place. Those are the ones that we need to have in place. The minimal standard of additional lodge light is just not enough anymore. That's just bare minimum, because we let anybody in, this is all we're expecting from them because we know they're dumb as rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we're at. But we're not looking for that for our Master Masons of today. And the people that are interested in joining right now are not uneducated. I don't know of many people that are as dumb as I am. Most of you people here have some kind of an education. I have a business degree, but it's not a prestigious business degree or anything like that. You guys are all smart. I grew up in blue collar labor. So what are you doing,
correct.
Justin?
Huh?
Yeah, that's correct.
Pinky's out, man. Pinky's.
Anyways. Did you know that's not even a thing?
It's the internal, not the external.
What, the pinky's out?
The external, not the internal, right?
Yeah, that's not even a thing. Pinky's in or out. That's not even a thing.
It is a thing. Look, I just did it. See,
I'll
do it again.
It's so funny.
I'll show you again. See, it's a thing.
in proper
maybe not
school,
maybe not among peasantry. It's not a thing. So
what's interesting is that this blue collar guy cares enough about his progress in this life that he knows proper etiquette. And that's actually not a requirement in proper etiquette. Anyways.
If you say so.
So, because I'm just a blue collar guy, I dumbed it down.
Whatever you say, commoner.
All right, let's move on to the next question because we all agree that officer leadership training is awesome. It should be required, and we even if it was raising per capita $5 a year,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a good thing to do.
Indubitably.
I mean, look at how they're trying to use technology to save money to make our per capita stretch so that they don't have to increase it. If we were to increase it by $5 a year and make smarter Masons that could manage their lodges better, then we wouldn't be worried about that $5 a year.
Oh, we would already be way past 27.
Oh yeah. If people were caused to think smarter, then we would be in a different place today.
Mm-hmm.
Standards.
Well, and then some of these lodges might not have to have, $60 a year dues. They might have to raise those dues.
What are you trying to say? It's the internal, not the external.
Well, you're right.
Yeah, the internal of my wallet. That's gonna have to come out.
They wouldn't have to. They wouldn't have to, but wouldn't you want to, so that you'd be able to build up a fund that ultimately the lodge could live off of without having to have dues, and then any dues that came in eventually would just be, the cream on the top.
I would point out, as Brother Hasten said when he came on our show, even the lodges that have the money that charge dirt cheap dues still don't have attendance because there's no value.
No, that's not the problem with Freemasonry right now.
Yeah, most lodges aren't in that situation anyway.
Okay, you're gonna step all over the next question if y'all keep.
If we keep talking.
Yes.
What's the next question?
So now, as a Grand Junior Warden, though, is OLT important? Yes. Is education important to help manage the lodges? Absolutely.
Indubitably.
Verily.
What's the next question?
Okay, question number 4. What is the most pressing issue facing our craft today, and what should the Grand Lodge do about it?
I feel like we already pretty much covered that.
Nope, we didn't.
No, I feel like we did. I feel like
now we're rolling.
That's why I said y'all are about to start stepping over the question.
Well,
so
not yet, because really at this point now we start looking at the bigger picture of infrastructure. That's the biggest problem today. We're trying to support too big of an infrastructure.
Too many members and not enough Masons.
Ooh.
Too
many lodges and not enough members.
Well, the good thing is you can always fix
too many buildings and not enough. Yeah, let me take back that lodges thing. Too many buildings and not.
Well, the thing is, you say too many Masons and not enough members, and people get pissed off. Well, the thing is, you can always fix that. You can always start acting like a Mason. You can always, unless it's just beyond your character, unless it's just beyond your capability as a human, like unless you never should have been made a Mason, basically. You can fix that. You can start acting like a Mason. We can always correct that. We can take our buildings and turn them into lodges. All you gotta do is open up a book, and you can start being smarter.
Yep. Doesn't take much.
And I learned this from lots of experience in life. There are very few problems that you cannot fix if you're not willing to put the work in. Very few.
Or just rely on a friend.
He's a bonehead. And that skull's questionable too.
But he has all the answers.
Yeah. What is that? The bone box? Yeah. Nice.
There we go. Aztec calendar. Go ahead.
I dig it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the infrastructure is a problem. But like you said, it can be fixed. You can fix any of these things, but it has to be done through education. We kind of have to take a hardline stance, I think. Like I know I was kind of talking about having like a libertarian approach earlier, where it's make or break, and I think you should still have that to an extent, but also like when it comes to make or break, like the break needs to be hardline. Like this is break.
Give him enough time.
Yeah, if you
give
can't
him
do
enough
this,
time that the Hitler comes out of him.
Well, I wouldn't say that on this monetized YouTube video, but
That's funny. I just had, yeah, let's get that straight right now. I shouldn't have said that, but and we are in no way, associated with anybody. Golly, I can't believe I said.
Yeah, way to go, Dennis.
I know. That's all right. We'll get a lot of views off that one.
Yeah, but no, but you're right. Like
you get to field the questions.
You have to do like a hardline stance, and it's just like, look, and at that, and the thing is, once you do that, it's, if you don't meet the criteria within a certain amount of time, it's entirely you. It is entirely you, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts, or extreme circumstances or anything. You say, look, you have to meet these criteria by this date, and it could be a year or 2 years down the road. You have to meet the criteria. Well, it probably should be in your year if you want to actually have it, be sure it has effect. But you have a full year to start implementing these things at your lodge, or it's time to start really considering the alternatives. And I think that's really what we have to have. And it'll piss a lot of people off because a lot of Masons like their freedom, and I understand that. But you shouldn't have the freedom to run a fake Masonic lodge. Let's just put it that way. Like we argue about clandestine Masonry all the time. I mean, there's an entire podcast dedicated to it. Yet I'll be a jerk and I'll say it. We allow clandestine lodges in our own fraternity. And what I mean by that is they're not practicing Freemasonry, not by any stretch of the means. It's not Freemasonry.
A lot of the problem though is how we have to come to terms with what Freemasonry is. I think that's the biggest problem of today, is that we've got too many people arguing on what Freemasonry is. So we don't have that common vision within the lodges or within Grand Lodge even. I mean, each Grand Master comes out with this vision statement of their own. Well, why are they doing that? Why aren't they getting together and figuring out, or having a contest of, hey, write a vision statement for the Grand Lodge of Texas and then have a vote across Texas. Use the what is that, the something monkey, the one that does the stupid survey monkey. Yeah. Use that and do a vote on, top 5 vision statements for the Grand Lodge. And then say, okay, lodges, if what you're doing is not contributing to this, then you're clandestine. And you are no longer allowed to call yourself a lodge of the jurisdiction of Texas. But that's our biggest problem right now, is we want to create value within the lodges. That's paramount. However, value to who? Because all these people came into the lodges with a different premise of what Freemasonry is. And really, I should say Masonry, because it's not Freemasonry. It's Masonry. It's whatever they decided to make it.
I mean, if we have an entire program that encourages lodges to have a vision and mission statement, yet you walk into a Grand Lodge and there's no mission or vision statement when you walk in. And a little bit. Well,
they have one. They create it every year. The Grand Master does create one every year, but it's different every year. That's the thing.
I'm saying. Why should it be? Like,
it should not be.
When the lodge comes together and they create collectively their mission and vision statement, it's not something that changes every year. Why is it doing that at this statewide level when it should be even, I don't know, like
more strict?
It should be more strict.
I'm going to challenge this just for a second, but like,
you go right ahead, Daniel.
Challenge us, Daniel. You can challenge us anytime.
Many lodges really do have a continuous line of mission and vision, right? Maybe the mission statement's there, maybe the vision's written down, but is it truly continuous from worshipful master to worshipful master, or is it just a replica of what we see at the state? Is, I feel like this is my priority, I'm going to push this through this year, and we're just going to get on through it, instead of having the unity and the brotherhood and saying, hey, let's take one for the team and let's do this for the next 2-3 years and have a clear vision and a clear mission.
Or for the next 200 or 300 years, let's have a clear vision let's have a clear vision of what our traditions have been and what they should be, because it all changed, I guess. So our big decline started back in the 60s, and then it really took a turn for the worse in the 80s, like 1985, around there. And so from that point to now is a totally different Freemasonry than it was prior to that. And of course, that was different than what it was prior to that, of course, the generation before, but it wasn't as drastic as it was, from 85 forward, in my opinion, from some of the stuff that I've studied and researched. So we got to get out of this mindset that we're appealing to the guys that joined in the 80s and 90s, because they didn't join under the correct pretense. I don't think in a lot of cases they didn't. So you can't fault them. This isn't the same Freemasonry they joined, what we're talking about. But at some point, we have to all be held accountable to what we did join, which was Freemasonry, which dates back further than what they joined, right? So, but you're right, Daniel. It does does fluctuate, and we've taught that on our own show, to figure out what the vision of your lodge is, and so that you can create value by doing past masters meetings and stuff like that. Figure out what the vision is. But at this point, I think we're at such a critical point in this journey that we really need to, not necessarily a critical point as far as, do or die, but a point to where we should be more critical of what we're a part of and where we came from, and not just what's been happening over the past 100 years, 150 years. Because even what's happened here in Texas over the past 150 years isn't necessarily what happened prior to all the revolutions, right? So think about when there wasn't revolutions. The revolution was, or the mindset was freeing the mind, which would then free the body. Well, why aren't we getting back to that? Why don't we get back to pre-revolutions?
It's true. What's the next question?
Number 4.
Well, we're up to number 5. And so far, you guys are batting 0 right now. It's none of what y'all have said is anything No, I'm just kidding.
It's probably, we're probably way too hardcore for them, because they've got to actually get elected.
Right. No. I mean, you guys are there's a lot of things that you guys have touched on that they were touching on as well, but and there was some differences. Okay, number 5. How should the Grand Lodge support struggling or small lodges in rural areas?
Womp womp womp.
Give them the tools and education on how to merge. It's not Grand Lodge's job to do that. That's where the freedom comes in. It's not their job. This is not a welfare state. It's not Grand Lodge's job to get these guys out of the hole that they put themselves in. You've got guys that have not had insurance, that allowed their buildings to go dilapidated because they didn't want to charge the dues that was necessary to keep those buildings together. Buildings that were fully paid for by somebody else, by a different generation. They couldn't even keep up the maintenance on these buildings, and they want Grand Lodge to bail them out. Not their job. Sorry.
Well, let's let the other guys. I don't know. We gave them a chance to answer last question. Let's let them.
I don't think we did. I'm so. These are
I'm not sure
such
that was
hard
the.
questions, Jason. Y'all did a good job, man. Because
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do this on a live forum. Well,
I would
not
say
if I
that was
was
not the best
making myself available.
That was not the best stump speech. You may have to you may have to ponder that for a while. And
That was him
so
holding
you
back.
guys-
That was him holding back.
It's like screw those guys.
Yeah. Brad, Daniel, Tom, y'all got anything?
I did actually have one thing.
No, you're the
that
moderator,
I thought,
remember?
yeah, I know, but whatever. I did in thinking about that question. I mean, I've got stuff on all of it, but this one in particular, yeah, for the most part, and I will say both of the candidates didn't quite say that in quite so harsh tones, but what they did, I mean, it was allude to the fact that there's not a whole lot Grand Lodge as an entity can do, right? But I mean, there are the one thing I did think of, and it it's not something you would have to have if a lodge wanted any kind of help. Um, obviously it's not just one simple thing and that's going to fix your lodge. But if you were to actually have okay, we're struggling, we want to implement some changes, but part of the problem is you got to get guys coming back and being engaged and coming back to lodge and buy in and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that can help is simply having a grand officer come and visit. I mean, you put out there that the grand junior warden or the senior warden, a grand master is going to come visit your lodge. There will be a certain group that will want to come see them and think, oh, wow, we're out here and, way off in West Texas somewhere, but we're getting a grand officer going to come and visit. That's, to a lot of guys, that's a big deal. Now, is that one visit going to turn that lodge around if they're struggling? No, but it could be the spark that starts something if you've got a plan, if you've got a plan in place. In other words, don't just invite the, grandmaster to come visit and then he leaves and you're like, all right, well, I guess we'll see y'all next month. There's got to be more to it, but it would be something simple that Grand Lodge as an entity, could do is just like make an effort to reach out to these smaller struggling lodges and saying, if you want us to come visit your lodge for no other reason than to, help get some interest back. But if we do that, it needs to be part of a larger strategy to help turn your lodge around.
I got a thought on that. I think I think you're onto something, and that goes back to what I was saying originally on I think the first question about the Grand Junior Warden going around and talking on unity and all that kind of stuff. So if you had the Grand Junior Warden, there's 750 lodges in Texas. That would be, golly, 365 days a year. Golly, that's almost impossible to do.
I mean, it's what they ran for.
Well,
you don't have to go to every lodge, so that's the thing.
Well, you could do make it like a mandatory district-wide thing, and then do one to where all the districts partake in this thing, and he goes around to every district and discusses, have a town hall with every district. So let's take your idea, Jason, and go around with this town hall and say, this is a mandatory thing, and the expectation is all the officers of every lodge are going to be there, minimally. And we hope more members show up as well. But minimally, the expectation is that every officer is going to be there. We're setting this up a year in advance so that when this is. Set it in your calendar and do not plan something around it or plan everything else around it. You already know when it's going to be. So it gives people plenty of time, because, like people, like most of the people in this inner circle, and a lot of people that are online right now that I know, they're planned out for the next six months to a year already. Hell, I've got an announcement to make, as a matter of fact, for Grand Lodge at the end of this show. But we're planned out, right? So if it's a year in advance, so if they start planning this now and then eventually work it in to where the Grand Junior Warden is the one that goes around, and they say in the lodge that the Junior Warden is the lawyer of the lodge. Well, the Grand Junior Warden is going around to all the districts to lay down the law. Say, hey, this is where we're at. We need you to be active in your lodges, and you need to actively put together a plan to call your members. You have all these officers in your lodge. There's no reason that they can't split up the responsibility. But I wouldn't say just any grand officer do that. I would say just the Grand Junior Warden, because he doesn't have a whole lot to do in his first year. He's not doing a lot of planning in his first year. It is really a lot more traveling than anything and getting to know people. But during that year, he can go down and he'll also get a feel for the constituency and be able to take that back to Grand Lodge. DDGMs, they don't always give a proper representation of what the district is doing. Grand official can come in and he can see the health of the lodge by who's showing up at these mandatory town halls, and offer them that hey, we're here for you. We have these programs available. These are all the programs we have for you to educate the craft. These are all the programs that we have for if you want to do scholarships, here's the ways that you get that money that is available to you to assist with that. If you want to do this, here's a way to help you. Here's our OLT team. Here's our, and sure, maybe have the Grand Secretary go to some of them, or a member of their staff, the admin, or the Grand Treasurer, have him go to a few of them and say, I'm part of the team and we're here for you. We've got these programs available. I think you may be onto something there. That could be a good way to assist the lodges. But again, most of these rural lodges are in the position that they're in because they're already defeated in their own mind. What you got, Tom?
Yeah, I have a question. I understand we have the freedom to where we don't really, a lot of the lodges do not want Grand Lodge getting into their business and what have you. But I think before we can go and like individually help them out, there needs to be kind of some accountability. What are you guys doing that got you to this position? We're not gonna just put our resources out to help you all out if you're not going to follow through with it. And I mean, it's kind of like when I used to coach high school football, I would ream a kid a new one when he did something he wasn't supposed to do. But if I found out he didn't know that he wasn't supposed to do that, I'd instruct him on it. And then if he didn't do it, then okay, I'm going to yell at you because you know better to not do that. But I mean, and even go so far as if we do have this lodge that they're struggling, and first step is they have to recognize that they are struggling. I think a lot of them don't even realize that they're a couple of years away from merging, and then kind of it's kind of like when you have an employee, we have what we have in an improved. I don't call them write-ups anymore. I call them a job improvement
performance plan.
Where we have a plan that we sit down with them and say, okay, this is what you need to correct, and then have something to where we can judge the results of that to see if they're progressing towards that. And I think that'd be a little more structured to it, because even on the education, from what I've been hearing from this podcast and others, you almost have to have these initiatives, but then you have to have a measurement of it. Of, okay, is this being successful as us doing it this way? If it's not, then we need to change something. But it's like I said, I understand what you're saying with, yeah, it's hard to have that junior warden go to every lodge in the state to institute this. But then if we find that even get with Zachary to find out, like, where are the bottom 10% that are in danger, and kind of have a defined line that, if your lodge is at this area, you're in that red zone, that you're getting really close. Kind of like when I go to let somebody go, I was like, you knew it was coming. You're not surprised when we had this meeting, because you knew it was coming. Every day you walk into work, you look over this. I hope he's not going to talk to me, because what's coming. And I just think that if you had more of a structured way of producing it, and I mean, even going as far as the DDGMs of teaching them, kind of, because I mean, with as big as Texas is, you almost have to have a lot of this has to be delegated.
Well, and that's what these positions were originally put out there for. The DDGM, the DDGM is the representative of the Grand Master. Hands down, that's his job. He represents the Grand Master. It's not him representing the lodges to the Grand Master. He represents the Grand Master. A lot of people have that backwards. The DEO was originally created to, back in 2016, I think. I was corrected one time. I thought it was Tommy that did it, but it was actually done a couple years before Tommy, I think. But it was created to help educate on these kind of things, to help the lodges. But that it's not being done. They've actually removed it a couple of times and put it back into place a couple of times, because the people that are getting those positions aren't really doing the jobs. The district instructors, that's their job. And you're right. We do have those things in place. They've put those things in place to help, because it's too big for just the Grand Junior Warden to do. Maybe the Grand Junior Warden ought to come in and say, okay, well, you've got all these resources and you're still failing. You knew it was coming. Let's just pull the plug.
Yeah.
Maybe they're the ones that come in and have that conversation that you're talking about as the employer, that says, hey, you know why you're here. You know why you're losing your job. You already know what provoked this. It wasn't anything that Grand Lodge did or anybody else. Maybe it's just time you turn in that charter. You didn't, maybe it's the best benefit Grand Lodge can is darn it, we lost our charter because we couldn't afford to pay our bills. Dang, Grand Lodge, we could have pulled it out of the hat. Maybe they need Grand Lodge to be that scapegoat, to just go in and say, hey, you knew it was coming.
Even the federal government does that when they see that a state is not doing what they need to do, and they will sometimes step in
and pull funding. Yeah.
Well, I haven't had a chance to really say anything, but I'm almost scared to add anything at this point. So let's move on to the next question.
All right. Okay.
Number 7, right?
Question number 6.
Oh.
The penultimate question. What is the role of...
That means next to last, Dennis.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Thank you, because I'm not educated. I wouldn't know that. And
that means next to last.
98% of our listeners aren't educated either, so they'll appreciate it too.
Oh wow!
Oh good Lord! All right,
you're just
trying to crash and burn this whole channel tonight.
I know, right? Tonight's the night. You knew it was coming.
So
you might as well shut it down. Go ahead. Sorry, Jason.
All right. So there was an actual follow-up question from one of the participants because of how this question was worded, and you guys can see if you guys can guess what that question was. But What is the role of esoteric education in a modern Texas lodge, and how should it be supported at the Grand Lodge level?
You mean the questions and answers?
See, what does this esoteric education mean?
Ask it again, because I was being a smart ass.
What is the role of esoteric education in a modern Texas lodge, and how should it be supported at the Grand Lodge level?
Grand Lodge doesn't have to support that. It's like a few years ago when there was a motion, like a resolution, that every piece of education has to pass through Grand Lodge. That's not Grand Lodge's job, right? The whole point of esoteric education is this is my opinion on this, and this is why I think that, and I'm sharing it, and agree or disagree. But I encourage you to create your own presentation refuting that or explaining why you believe what you believe. And it's like this, it should be like this friendly competition of like Tom and I have this at our lodge. Like we
it's
like
rhetoric.
But like every other month we kind of flip flop who's presenting and trying to improve, outdo each other. I mean, he might not be doing that, but that's what I'm doing. So. But
well, that was the follow-up question back to me was, well, what esoteric education do you mean? Do you mean,
I know. Are you talking about the catechism, or are you talking about the
correct? Right.
Yes.
And the question was worded vaguely on purpose, because you
see what they believe the esoteric is.
Yes. And
yes.
So I mean, it was worded like that for a reason, and it was to kind of get an idea on what they consider what is esoteric education in a Texas lodge. And some guys, they only think in terms of ritual, question and answers.
I'm curious, did both of them come out of the gate saying that it was?
Well, you might have to watch the video.
Damn it, I'm gonna have to.
Oh, there's a video.
I want to see who was first on answering that one.
And I would say, to Justin's point, that was kind of the overall, is that Grand Lodge as an entity, when you're talking about esoteric education, and where we're talking about the meanings behind the symbols and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to that Grand Lodge as an entity should really remain out of that, as in allow the lodges to have that esoteric education if they want to bring that to their lodge, but not to dictate, as in, okay, here's a square and compasses, this is exactly what it means, this is how it's interpreted, and this is how you are to teach it. These are the pillars, and that's what they mean, and that's what they're
well, I agree with that, but I think that they should definitely have a hard stop on I think they should definitely cause the lodges to have conversations in their lodge. I think that I think that's part of the problem, is that we don't have
you can't force that kind
then
of
they need to shut down the lodges, because that was the whole reason we were founded, was to have those conversations.
I don't disagree that that's why we're founded. I'm just saying and I'm not saying
so don't tell
I'm not
me
saying from like a morality.
I can shut them all down.
I'm not saying from like a moral perspective you can't shut them down.
Man,
I'm saying you've
got a winning strategy there, Dennis.
You can't make people. You can't force people to think a certain way, if that makes sense. Like you can't. I don't know.
I'm not telling you what you have to believe the square and compasses mean. I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you have to have a conversation on the square and compasses in your lodge. You have to have that conversation with your membership on what each person, and you have to be open and willing to listen to your brother on what he believes the square and compasses are. I think you can force that. I don't think you can force what it means, but you can force them to have that conversation.
I think if you say it's mandatory that you have a discussion on square and compass this month, you'll have some lodges that'll have really, really good, like a very small percent that will have really good intellectual conversations on a square and compass. And then you'll have some that, like, we brought it up.
Still, maybe so. You can't change stupid, right?
That's what I'm getting at, yeah.
But yeah, I understand and I agree with that. However, you can, as a authoritative entity, have that. Well, there went my hand. You can have that.
Oh, there it is.
That standard.
Doesn't ever work.
You can have that standard.
Maybe it's because my hand is too masculine.
Uh-huh.
Well,
No.
maybe you even just have hey, here's a topic for the month. Feel free to discuss based upon the Grand Secretary's communication. We have an article of law that's encouraged to be read. Even if you just had hey, here's some talking points to start with. Oh, let's get the district education officer involved again. Oh, there you go. There's something. Let's use the things that are already in place. You don't have to do too much to do that.
And it was also encouraged to have a lodge education officer at one point. And now that was in 2018 because I was the Leo for my lodge. And I think that's one way of saying, look, this is important to us. If Grand Lodge stands back and does not say this is important to us, it'll never get done.
And I think a good idea is when you appoint your district education officer, they're given a schedule of content, not like short talks or anything, but like, hey, we want you to talk about this month, and we don't give you anything. You come up with it. You present something. But
if you're a district education officer and you cannot write a presentation, you are the wrong person for the job.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Very cool. Anyone else have thoughts?
I think taxation without representation is the only way to go. I'm reading the comments now.
Tom, you got something? I see you're unmuted. You got thoughts, or you just hanging out?
No. I like the iron fist that Dennis has used. That's why I put the comment. The beatings will continue until morale improves. So until they get on board.
That's funny. Oh man. And I do apologize to all our listeners out there for the cussing, and this is why I can't go to those forums, because there's such important topics to me that I get so passionate about it.
Well,
I really
traditionally
am.
with a forum, you sit and listen to them talk, Dennis. You don't jump in like, let me
can't
tell you
do
my
that.
thoughts on that.
Just like the presentation that was given at the Knights of St. Andrew last night, Jason can attest to this.
We still have a question left, by the way.
The guy's trying to give the presentation, and this other guy just jumps in the middle of it and just starts barreling down on his opinion on this one point of the presentation, and he just won't stop, and it's like takes everything off course.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I just did again. Number 7.
I will say to that point real quick that we had a district deputy a few years ago, and he was giving the Grandmaster's message, and we had like this old timer stand up. He's like, well, let me tell you my thoughts on this. And district deputy just looked at him like, what are you doing? Well, can't we ask questions?
As if he didn't know.
Yeah, he's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, can't we ask questions? Like, no, I'm giving you the Grandmaster's message. There's nothing to discuss. He got all mad and sat back down, never showed back up.
That sounds like the guy that stood up and talked total trash about our past Grandmaster from last year. It was so funny. He stood up right in the middle of a presentation and said, well, I'll tell you that something.
You're right, Daniel. Some people, you can't start your own podcast. Like if you're opinionated enough, you can just do it yourself. I agree. What do you got? What do you got, Jason? What's number 7 there?
Okay, so the hindermost question, that means last, Dennis, is if elected, how would you maintain transparency, humility, and accountability during your progression through the Grand South, West, and East?
Say that again. How would you maintain?
Hindermost means last.
Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, now see, I was stuck on that part. And I just didn't get the rest of it.
If elected, how would you maintain transparency, humility, and accountability during your progression through the Grand South, West, and East?
Ah, nice. Nice.
It is nice. What you got, Brad?
Oh, I think it just kind of plays into the answer to all of the questions that we've answered so far and how we've answered them. And I think it boils down to the OLT um, and the Grand Junior Warden playing a big part in pushing that,
Yeah.
and then following up with, we get Grand Masters decisions emailed to us, but one thing I did get this year was a letter from the Grand Junior Warden, Justin Duty.
I know that person.
He basically wrote a letter right to me. I think it was because I was a worshipful master.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
that's what it was.
I thought it was something along the lines of, thanking for his position. Thanking us for his position as the Grand Junior Warden. But something like that sent out to lodges from the Grand Junior Warden.
Mm-hmm.
Right worshipful duty is a class act, man.
I love that.
He knows what to do. I love him. I'm so glad that he's our Grand Senior Warden, because that's a good point.
So
here's the communication part is really important, and that's what I was trying to get down to. Is if he was to say, "Hey, well, this is my idea of what I want to do through the next 4 or 5 years, and I just want to keep you updated as I go along and show you where I'm at along the way," and sending out a letter, once, 2, 3 times a year out would not be that hard.
I agree, and here's what I think you do, and I piggybacking off what you're saying here is, as junior warden and senior warden, you're going to as many MWSA meetings as you can attend, and this is that aspect of what you are talking about, where you're visiting the districts. You go to as many of those as you can, because, like you said, that attracts people, and you talk about what's important to you, but at the same time, you're asking people what's important to them, and you're informing yourself on the kind of, you're putting your finger on the pulse of Freemasonry, and at the same time,
because they are the officers of the lodges.
Yep.
So that is important.
And while you're at those MWSAs, you're of service. You're serving food. You're helping out however you can. Likewise, you're also attending as many OLTs as you can, and you're doing the same thing. And I won't tell you the Brad Billing story, because Dennis rolls his eyes every time. But you're sitting there. You're in the serving line. You're helping out. And I also think, ideally, you're giving a presentation. You have an educational piece that you share at OLT, because you're showing people, like, this is how important it is to me. This is how important education is to me. And not only that, but how important it is to be of service, and that just because I'm the grand whatever at that point, I'm not too big to educate you on what I believe. And you're giving an educational presentation. So not only do people attend because the Grand Masters are giving an educational piece, but you're also showing how important education is to you as a leader of the fraternity in Texas.
Okay.
That is my concise thought.
Okay. I better, since you're saying concise, that means I'm supposed to keep it.
That means short and sweet, Dennis.
Okay, so let me think about this for just a second. Put this here and then put this here. So I agree. And I don't know if I would. I guess you do want to do the MWSAs, but some of the MWSAs are just a waste of time.
Well, the ones that are. I mean, if there's no one showing up,
you've only got 4 or 5 MWSAs that are really worth the crap.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of them are just, they're just doing it so that they can say that they've got an MWSA for their Vanguard or whatever. But I think that tying into what Brad said, officer leadership training for the Grand Junior Warden, make that his baby every year, because it's not that the Grand Junior Warden needs to express his platform so much, but express the platform of Grand Lodge, and that is education, education, education. And if we were to go to this mandatory officer leadership training like we were talking about, make it a little more affordable, but make it mandatory, then I got to say, this is contradictory to what we've said in the past about mandatory OLT, but that was only because the prices increased so much. If we did make it mandatory and did it well, even raise per capita so that it gets so it's a budgeted item for whatever our membership is. That's the budget that you get for OLT, that dollar figure, right? So if we made it mandatory, then that is the job of the Grand Junior Warden, is to run with that bunch and be a part of that education program and get to know the constituents, the future leaders that are going to be the masters when he's grandmaster. They're going to be a lot of those. If they're not masters, they're going to be the ones eligible for DDGM. Hell, that's how Brad Billings got to know me, was through officer leadership training, because I didn't just go once or twice. I went a lot of times, and every time I was there, he was there. And that's how he got to know me, and that's how he knew that he wanted me as the DDGM, long before I was ever a worshipful master. So have the Grand Junior Warden support that program, and then you've got your service, as well as having a platform to be able to give an educational talk, give your own philosophical talk on some of the esoteric meaning of, that's out there. And don't do it on an EA, because you don't have any EAs there. Do it on a master's level, to where you really take a couple of deep dives. Don't just do a softball presentation. But I think that would be a great idea. With everything that we talked about tonight, having officer leadership training mandatory, lowering the cost, and then having the Grand Junior Warden travel with that group, along with other things, because of course that's only for part of the year anyways, and along with some other things, but make that their baby every year. And then they take their stewardship team with them, because they're in charge of the stewards, the grand stewards, right? So you have your grand stewards there helping support in service to the fraternity, and that's the job. I think that's a great idea.
What's our score, Jason?
Man, you might want to take all of my answers off, and then just
run?
calculate everybody else's.
No, to be honest, a lot of the general themes that y'all have talked about
Value
were kind of the same thing that they were talking about. They didn't quite talk about forcing lodges to close. I think that was that might have been
well, nobody's perfect, right?
Off the table, a little bit, but in general, now remember, first off, they weren't able to banty back and forth, so fleshing out some of these ideas wasn't available to them. So I think if you watch it, you'll probably see some common themes running through them.
So anybody watching this needs to go and watch your video now, and I'll share it to our Facebook page.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So check it out on our Facebook page, and if you're not following our Facebook page, you need to fix that too. We are radical, dude.
I did have something else to add to the transparency part of that. And they could do it with each one of the Grand Lodge members. Every one of them have a Grand Senior Warden Facebook page, to where they just, if nothing else, just send out pictures of what's going on with the Grand Junior Warden. and where they're going and pictures of where they've been. Transparency. If you want to know where he's going to be, if you want to catch up with the Grand Junior Warden somewhere, this is how you do it. And do that with every office, and then you all know where everybody's going to be. I think that's a good idea. Having the calendar on Grandview actually work to where it shows all the Grand Lodge events would be good. That'd be another good thing for transparency. That's not just the Grand Junior Warden, though, but I think that it should be done across the board with all of them. All of the trustees, we should be able to at any time know what they're doing. Are they serving us as trustees the way that we would want them to serve us? And granted, I have no question that any of them are. They're all running around crazy. They've got a lot of work on their shoulders. But that goes with the transparency. We have the technology to do it. So simple and easy. And I guarantee you that whoever the grand officer is, they have a small entourage of their team that's going around with them wherever they go. And somebody can do that for them. Somebody can keep up with that for them. So I think that would be a great addition to what's happening. Any thoughts? I guess I'm spot on.
Lots of thoughts.
Y'all totally agree?
Lots of thoughts. I was sharing that to our Facebook page. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's on there now.
I only thought it's communication. Nobody cares until they know how much you care, but they can't care unless they know what you're doing.
Yeah. And that's a lot of it is a lot of these lodges that are hell bent on doing things their own way. It's because they think that Grand Lodge doesn't care. If Grand Lodge is showing an interest in what's going on and paying attention to what they're doing, then they might care a little bit more about what they're doing.
Isn't that a Homer Simpson quote? The problem with relationships today is communication. Way too much communication. But yeah,
that sounds like an Al Bundy
maybe
quote to me.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about, this most recent Grand Lodge, I mean, there were several resolutions about transparency. There was. Some of it, I think, was probably maybe a little bit overkill, but I think the general theme was based on Grand Lodge previously that a lot of Texas Masons right now are like, we're tired of not knowing what Grand Lodge is up to.
Mm-hmm.
And we're tired of, things being done behind closed doors and secrecy. And if we do want information, it's probably available, but you got to go dig for it, and everything. So yeah, I think, I think some more transparency into what's happening and I mean that Central Texas Freemason page is something that I created probably 10 years ago. Not a Central it was called something else, but the idea was that as I have these different responsibilities, it's kind of the same thing to let people know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that you have it started with the Elks Lodge, but
so it's not really about Freemasonry, it's all about Jason. Is that what you're saying?
Okay, it's called Central Texas Freemason, the professional page of Jason Reichenberg. So yes, it is. but that's the idea, is that it's
so are we really wanting to promote giving him more views?
Oh my God.
I think you need to take that off of our page now.
Wow.
Anyway, the whole idea is to, and that wasn't done on purpose. There were some other technical issues we ran into, so that it was not intended to be broadcast on that page. It just, whatever. Anyway,
it's okay.
Yeah,
Jason.
but the idea
I'll share it either way.
but the idea is yes, it's the same thing. When you're up into these leadership positions, especially at the Grand Lodge level, yeah, why not have a page dedicated to what you're doing, where you're at, and so that guys can see, oh, these, we don't, if you guys not really active on Facebook, yeah, you might hear about where somebody's going to be going and that you got to watch the calendar and stuff like that. But, you know, being able to go out to a Facebook page and see posts and updates and pictures and, oh, wow, this is what they're, oh, okay.
Well, and we have the photographer position, the grand photographer position, and that's a committee in itself. It's a bunch of different photographers around Texas. So why do we not have, like, let's say a photographer for each district, whoever is the busybody of the district, and with a phone in their hand, and say, okay, send this directly to the grand photographer, and it's going to get posted on the Grand Lodge page, like the forum, for instance.
Well, that's fine, but I think he's talking more about specific individuals.
What do you mean?
So, like, if I'm the Grand Junior Warden, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but if I'm Grand Junior Warden, I have my own Facebook page.
Well, that's what I said. I'm the one who brought that up, sucker.
He was the one.
I was the one. I'm the one who brought that up. And I said sucker because I was fixing to call you something else.
What, Dennis?
But I believe in that. But what I'm talking about is something like the forum that just happened. So, there's a forum that's going to happen. You've got your guys coming in for Grand Junior Warden that are going to show up. You've got Kohanke showed up, as well as the Committee on Work. Who was there for the Committee on Work?
Oh, his last name is Moss. It's either Gary or Greg.
So anyway. you got four guys that showed up, and this there's no secrets in the administrative arena of Grand Lodge, so somebody knows it. Why is the photographer not involved in having somebody there to film it and put it on a Grand Lodge feed? Something like that. I mean, that's newsworthy. That's the kind of transparency that I think the constituents want within the grand jurisdiction, is knowing these things, because you said you had 10 people watching. Let's say if it was put on the Grand Lodge feed and people knew about it, how many people do you think would be watching then? I would say probably 10 times that, at least.
Yeah. No, that is
probably
true.
Probably a lot more. So, we talk about all this technology that we can use, and we're not utilizing it. Be the example, Grand Lodge. Be the example. You're doing a good job so far. Let's keep it going. Let's push it even further, because the grand photographers, that's their job, is to take pictures of everything that has to do with Grand Lodge. Well, yeah, they're taking pictures of the events that the Grand Master's at and all the other guys, but they could afford one guy to go down to this forum and film the forum and put it on the live feed for Grand Lodge. Why not?
Should be. These are people that are going to be someone at that forum will ultimately be making decisions at the state level at one point, right?
Yeah.
So probably should know who they are and what they're about. I agree.
Yes. And the ones that show up at a forum like that the others don't show up to are probably the ones that are going to be elected. The ones that show up are usually going to be the ones that are elected.
The ones that show up are usually the ones that are elected.
Yeah.
To the forums?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
If you don't show up, probably not going to be elected.
That's true.
So it's important that we have it out there, that we have that available to us.
Do we want to go into final thoughts now that we answered all the questions? Jason.
Some of them I just swipe left.
See, you
Just
already
have
know
to.
more about it than I do.
Just have to. I know it's one way or the other. I don't know which way if it was the intended way that I meant it to be.
It's the internal and external. You go both.
That's right. That's right. It goes. Yeah, you swing both ways. Is that what you're saying? Oh my goodness, that's funny. We just went very far downhill. We took my R ratedness to an X ratedness.
We were going to final thoughts then.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm not gonna read what he had to say. Go ahead, Daniel, since you had so much to say on in the chat. Why don't you?
Myself. I'm over here laughing too hard at myself. Dennis, to actually say anything.
That's funny.
I think ultimately we have to make a decision, right? In Texas Freemasonry, do we want the Grand Lodge to say this is everything we're going to do and we're going to push it down to the lodges, or do we want the lodges to say this is what we need from Grand Lodge and push it up to Grand Lodge, right? It's maybe a mix of both, right? This is what we want to see. This is who we're going to endorse because this is what they're doing, and you have to come out and just say that, right? Like, I know there were some contentious topics. Dennis, you speak your mind. You know, you put it out there like, hey, the lodges need to merge. They need to close. That's the reality, right? But we need somebody who's going to stand on principle and say, this is what we need to do. This is how we need to move things. And if that's who the craft elects, then that's what they want.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just keep on saying, we're just going to keep on putting people in there whoever's going to not upset everybody, whoever's going to, do this. You have to stand for something. You have to stand for something, and you have to say, this is my point of view, and these are the hills that I'm going to choose to die on. And by doing that, I think you improve the craft. And if the craft doesn't want you, then they don't want you. But that's how you're going to refine and really truly find out who, where is the craft going to move in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, because we have to choose the leaders that are going to take us there. Yep. We have to have a leader who's going to have a 50-year vision. This is where we're going to be, and I think we've had some leaders recently that have done that really well. They've talked about that. What does the craft look for their child, their son? What, is masonry going to be around for their son? Or are we going to just have a bunch of old gross buildings with ceilings falling in, water buckets catching, the water in the lodge room because we can't take care of it?
I feel like you're attacking me, Daniel.
You deserve it.
Not you personally. Not you personally. Just the lodge you've been to that does that.
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, that's good. But I appreciate your feedback. That's good. Brad, Tom, Jason, y'all got anything?
I think I've said enough.
Come on, Brad. You finished strong. You had some really good insight.
He might be meal prepping.
He must be prepping and not
making his chicken and rice.
There you go.
Right over here.
His boiled chicken and rice.
Man, I wish I had the discipline to be a stud.
I just, I appreciate everything everybody said, and I agree with a lot of what y'all are saying. And I really feel like the Grand Lodge needs to set the example. As to the OLT, I keep going back to that. That is like that's how they should say, this is how a lodge should be ran. Here is how you budget. Here's how you train your officers as they're going up. Here's how you teach the ritual. Here's how you mentor. Here's how you do everything. And it should be a mandatory thing. That's just, that's all I can really say. That's so important to have a good example to follow. Otherwise, you need somebody like me that's going to go in and try to shake the system because I went into Masonry looking for something, and when I got there, it wasn't there. And I had to create it myself in order to be able to do it.
Hmm.
But I found it here on this channel. I found it here on this show and here every Sunday night with you guys. But I mean, this is what I was looking for whenever I came into the lodge in Roy City, but it wasn't there. And so I learned from you guys and I brought it to there. I also learned from OLT and I learned from the books I read and everything else, the book time and the road time.
Mm.
Yes.
But as far as Grand Junior Warden, the like Daniel said, like communication is so important, because if I was sending out newsletters and emails and messages constantly when I was in the East. And when you got somebody that's in the East that only sends out messages a few days before the meeting every month, you just never know what's going on. And so it makes it feels like it's going away.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't think anything's going on because nobody's talking.
The next thing you know, you hear about something happening and you didn't know about it because it was last minute or it wasn't communicated.
Right.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
So anyway, I'll end there. Thank you guys.
Thank
Nice.
you. Thank you.
What you got, Tom?
Well, it's kind of piggyback off of what Brad just said. Basically, the Grand Lodge needs to fill our toolbox as a lodge up with everything that we need to succeed. And it's kind of like if you talk to anybody that's ever managed a McDonald's, they have a little black book that's in the office. That's their operations manual. Anything they'll ever encounter is in that book, and how to do that. And McDonald's is like other Fortune 500 companies, like Walmart. There's a certain way they want it done, and that's the way it has to be done. And if you don't do it that way, you won't be there very long. But they're very successful at what they do, and that's kind of the success of McDonald's was based on the systems that they started. When Ray Kroc bought it from the brothers, bought that milkshake company, and he implemented all these systems to run, and there was a reason why he did it that way, and that's why they're very successful. I remember a talk they had. It was an interview with Ray Kroc, and he said he was doing a graduation for Harvard Business School, and they went to dinner with some of the grads afterwards, and he had asked them, he goes, "What business do you think I'm in?" And they also, "You're in the hamburger business." And he goes, "You know nothing about McDonald's." He goes, we're in the real estate business. We own more real estate than any other company in the world." And he goes, "That's just the way it was set up, because the McDonald's franchise owner doesn't own that property. McDonald's does. And they pay rent to McDonald's, and a lot of rent for that location. So, I mean, it's there just has to be guidelines, and then there's got to be definite rules, because I know every lodge has their bylaws. The couple of lodges I belong to, the bylaws aren't very long. There's maybe 5 or 6 rules in it, and that's about it.
Lean things with everything.
So I don't really see a blueprint, like this is exactly like you guys over the last year that I've been listening have kind of laid out a blueprint of the way these lodges should be run. And it seems and I know Grand Lodge really doesn't want to do too much as far as making rigidity that you have to do it this way. They kind of give us that freedom to do because obviously if you're in a metro area, your lodges, some things that work in a rural lodge are not going to work in a lodge in the city. So they give us that liberty, but it, like I said, it's almost like you almost have to have like a handbook. This is the way that you need to do this, and the way you need to do the education. And earlier we were talking about the definition of esoteric. When I was coming through, the thing I kept hearing was it was ritual and questions and answers. And I'm like, have you guys even looked it up in the dictionary what esoteric means? That is not what it means. Our ritual is just the way we do things. The esoteric is the knowledge that you don't currently have.
Yes.
The secret mysteries and that kind of thing. That was what drew me in.
It's the hidden knowledge. It's exactly what it is.
Just my entire life, if you charted the way, because I've always been trying to get more knowledge about anything. And it was almost like I kind of got drawn into this because that's just where my path was going. Where do I get some more knowledge? And then I didn't expect to get the extra knowledge that I got when I came here. But then I'm like, oh, this is the really cool stuff. That's why I enjoy the stuff we do with like the book club and the Kabbalion and that, and like I told
That's
Justin
the
other day, I'm halfway through Esoterica, which I think is an awesome book.
Yes.
But it's just I've even talked to Justin and a few guys about it. I said, a lot of this stuff in the Kabbalion, this was before Jesus walked. Thousands of years before he was even around, and it's been taught forever.
Probably a lot of what he was teaching too.
I think when they had the disappearance where there's no real record besides with the lost sea scrolls of what happened from when he was 14 to 30, and from what I've heard was that he went around the world and went to all these mystery schools. And even some of them say, yeah, he's learned stuff from the yogis that you could explain some of the miracles because it was stuff that he had learned there. But that's kind of in like when we went over the Kabbalion, there's a lot of stuff because I've been in sales and management for a while, and I've had bosses I worked for where they gave you a list of books. They're like, you need to read these books if you want to work here. And a lot of those principles were in Napoleon Hill books and Andrew Carnegie books, or Dale Carnegie, but it's nothing that they come up with. It was stuff that was taught years before, but everybody thought it's this revolutionary new idea. And no, it's been around forever. That's, because I used to have a thing where I carried $100 bill in my wallet that I never spent. And, my ex was like, why do you keep that in there? I was like, it's a law of money. If I want to attract money, it has to stay in that wallet. It can't be spent. And it's, but that was one of the things that I thought was really cool because these little things you learn, like the laws of polarity, and that they're just constants. It's just the way it is. It's the way it was designed originally. And that's what I try to tell some of these guys. I was like, this esoteric is not your questions and answers. Mm-hmm. It's some of this other information we're trying to teach you. Because that's the only way we can make good men better is by giving them that extra knowledge. But then again, I'd have all the knowledge if I'd make it to the 360th degree. Because I know I'd know it all by then.
That's when all the knowledge comes full circle.
And you're not that high yet, or you didn't know it was 369 degrees. Just kidding.
I heard it was around 359. We learned how we're taking over the world. Because that's what I joined for, was to figure that out.
I want to be part of that group.
All right.
Jason,
you got anything?
No, I've said enough tonight.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all heard enough from me. No, I don't really have anything further.
Well, I'll be succinct because I feel like I've said most of my thoughts and it's already almost 11:30. But I do want to. I was thinking about what Brad was saying. I don't know if he's still here, but we are past a point of lukewarm Freemasonry. It just doesn't work anymore. And what I mean by that is we don't want lukewarm Masons. They're not even lukewarm Masons, they're members. We don't need that in our lodge. Doesn't benefit anybody. Doesn't benefit them. Doesn't benefit us. Doesn't benefit the lodge. But it also not just from a Masonic perspective, but I think overall the entire country, we've moved past lukewarm politicians, and not going down like a political rabbit hole here, but Masonically, we're done with lukewarm politicians. And what I think that means is when you go to a forum and you're asked your opinion, you have an opinion, and you don't just give the political answer. You tell us what you actually think, and we'll elect you based off if we like that or not. Don't just have no opinion, just to get elected. And I think that's what we've had for a very, very long time. Is not only did they not give their opinion, they didn't really have an opinion. They didn't really have a stance or a platform. They just wanted to have the position. We're past that. We're past lukewarm Freemasonry. And so like I said, I hadn't watched the video, but I like Jason's feedback that a lot of the stuff we're saying is what's being echoed up there. Because that means that these people that are running actually have opinions, and they're actually willing to share that. Now, I'm sure they're still being somewhat guarded. I think it's a gradual process where you have to get to the point where you're comfortable when you're running for an office to just be adamant about what you believe in. But I'm glad that we're getting to that point, because we need to be able to elect. I mean, it's the whole one of the forum is, what do you actually stand for and why are you running? And we need to know. And just because we as a Grand Lodge don't agree with your platform doesn't mean it's a bad platform. It doesn't mean that we'll never vote for you, but it just means that that's not what we think we need as a Grand West at this time for the fraternity. So I'm really glad to hear that. Obviously I'm glad that some of the stuff we said is being echoed, but I would just be glad knowing that they had thoughts that even if they didn't agree with what we're saying, because at least we know what they're actually standing for. And not just as a man, but I'm not just as a Mason, but I think as a man, that's important that we're able to share our thoughts. And here I am, laid bare to you. This is what I believe the fraternity stands for. This is what I believe we need to do, based off your questions, based off my answers. Here I am. Judge me how you will. Either elect me or don't. And we have to get to that point. Final thoughts, like that. All right, Dennis.
Okay. So I think that, I may have come across pretty harsh tonight, but there's a reason for it. It's because you can't be a part of any other organization. Ultimately, we do have a business that we need to uphold. And no other business, let's say you have a Subway franchise, you're not going to be able to keep your Subway franchise very long if you start selling hamburgers, because that's not part of the franchise model. So I think the best thing that Grand Lodge can do is help us determine what the franchise model is in Texas Freemasonry. Now, granted, we would love for brothers to figure all that out on their own, but we're coming to the realization today that that's not possible. It's not happening. If it hasn't happened in 200 years, it's not going to happen next year. And next year may be too late for some of these lodges. We're finding more and more that the brothers that are coming into this fraternity today are more educated, and they're thinking, and I hate using that term, but it's true in a sense. It's not that they have the life experiences, more life experiences or anything like that, but they're coming into this with a better understanding of what Freemasonry has been historically. And the expectation is there for us to perform on that promise. And it seems like we're not fulfilling that promise that we have to them, that we're Freemasons. We're acting more like a civil service group. And that's not what we were designed to be. That's not our product. So if our product is esoteric knowledge that creates that we call light, then why are we selling a civil service group? That's not who we are. That's not our product. Our product is to make good men, not even to make good men. Our product is to really develop the intellect of men, to help them to be more successful in life and eternally, per se. And so if that's our product, why are we doing all the byproducts that take us away from our actual product? All the byproducts are all the things like, doing all these fundraisers, raffles, all that kind of crap, and then other things as well. So I think the best thing that Grand Lodge can do is get us back to the basics on who we are as an organization, what we were designed to do to begin with. And if Grand Lodge doesn't know that, then the trustees don't need to be trustees. That's their job, is to know that. That's their job, is to know where we come from anciently and what we were developed to do, not what we are doing that we've done over the past 20 to 50 years. That's not their job. They should know what we've been doing for this so they can help course correct so that we can get back to where we come from. Because ultimately, that's what we still have to offer today that we lost track of yesterday, is traditional Freemasonry. Freemasonry, not Masonry, not civil service projects, Freemasonry. So I think the best thing that our Grand Junior Wardens can do is be a part of the solution by supporting officer leadership training, being a part of that program. Grand Lodge as an entity, as the trustees of Grand Lodge should consider those different forms of transparency to help. The different ideas on education and developing our officers so that they're more capable of leading. The job of Grand Lodge is not to give these failing lodges fish. The job of Grand Lodge is to teach them how to fish. And so
it's the lodge's job to fry them.
Right. Oh my gosh, I set myself up for that. And I think that we've lost sight of that. We're at a point to where we do have hard decisions that have to be made. There are lodges that need to merge. There's too much infrastructure out there for the membership that we have. I think that we need to make those hard decisions. And even in the rural areas, we have way too many lodges. We have cars with air conditioning. There's no reason you can't travel further than you do to go to lodge. You don't have to have a lodge that's 5 minutes away for you to go. If you do, was it ever really that important to you in the first place? So I think it would behoove Grand Lodge to help educate brothers on that mindset, that, let's get out of our comfort zone and instead of digging in against the betterment of our lodges, dig in for the lodges, and then we would be a lot better off. I told somebody not too long ago, they asked me what to do on their lodge, and I said, man, none of the officers are all of the officers are plural members. None of them were our original Masons of the lodge, and I think you should send out a letter that you're going to shut down the lodge and see who shows up, and tell them every time they don't show up, you're going to have that vote every month, and if they don't show up, they're going to shut down the lodge. That's and I stand strong on that. And then the first month they don't show up, then you shut down the lodge because it wasn't that important to them. Because most of these lodges are within 20 minutes of these members. And the sad thing is that when we do this, we're pissing on somebody else's legacy that they left behind. Not all the members can get to lodge, and that's a sad thing. But they left it in the hands of these guys that are abandoning the lodge. So in a way, we're all responsible for what happens long term. We're all responsible. So if that lodge isn't there for my grandkids, it's still my fault because I didn't investigate the guy properly to take my place when I die so that he'll make sure that that lodge is just as important to him as it is to me. You know, it's my job to make sure that the next generation knows. Just like it's Grand Lodge's job to make sure that the expectations are put out there. It's, in my opinion, the weight falls on me and it falls on every member of the Grand Lodge. So that being said, I think that education should be the priority because that's what this whole movement was built on, was education, educating ourselves so that we can enlighten our spirits, our minds and our spirits. I think that the Grand Junior Warden is a tough position to jump into because you while I do know that the brothers that are wanting to be Grand Junior Warden think they have something to offer. But the question is, do you really have what Grand Lodge needs you to offer? And if you can't answer that definitively, then you don't need to be running. I know the person that I support knows that through and through. He's got some good ideas. And it all starts with the value within the lodge. And the value for the membership. Making sure that you're giving the lodges Freemasonry. That's important. I have some other cool news to go ahead and share tonight. And that is that it is secured that the Masonic Improvement, Building a Better Brotherhood dinner and discussion at Grand Lodge is going to happen again on Thursday, January 15th, 2026 for this Grand Annual Communications Grand Lodge session. So we're going to do it like we did it last year. It was successful. A lot of y'all don't realize it that Diamondbacks, which is it's either the top or the second to the top steakhouse in Waco.
What would be above Diamondbacks?
I know.
I can't even think.
I haven't had an experience yet that was better in Waco. But anyways, they actually created that system of payment for the event specifically for our group. They had never done it before, and they haven't done it since, but they're going to do it again for us this year to make it easier for all of our brothers to get signed up and get paid for and pick out their menu items and all that kind of stuff ahead of time so that we can focus on Freemasonry. Mm-hmm. We have our own dining hall with our own staff, our own wait staff. We have our own entrance to the building. We don't go through the same doors that the other constituents go through. Other guests go to, and we have our own bar in the building. It's kind of cool having our own thing catered just for us. It's pretty cool.
We even have our own bathroom, like there's a little corner in the back.
Oh, Justin, you just had too many that night. But that was where they were rinsing the glasses for the bar. What are you talking about?
No wonder they kept screaming when I went over there.
I know, but no, it's a great time. It's and it's exactly that. It's discussion on Freemasonry. You get the best of Freemasonry in this environment We have some libations. We have a great dinner. Probably the best dinner you can get in Waco during Grand Lodge, and we have a very thought-provoking presentation, followed by discussion by the whole group. And we stand up and take turns discussing, and it really is an enlightening evening for anybody that does this. One of the things I would like to do, and I'm going to send out an email to everyone who came last year, and I'm going to challenge all of you guys to invite one person, just one person, and see if we can make it bigger. I mean, really, I like the size that we're at. We're right around 70 people or whatever, and that's a great number. But you know what? There's somebody out there that is looking for that experience that doesn't get it anywhere else. If you know that guy, the guy that would love something that we have to offer, then you need to ask him if he wants to come, and then let me know who your referral is, because we do vet everybody that signs up to do it. So what happens is we get the emails, and then I forward the email to our hostess, and then she sends out the option for the payment. That way I make sure of who's coming into this dinner, so that we know that our discussions are sincere and they are private, and they're somewhat tiled. It's a great time. So that's exciting. That's exciting. This is our third annual in
it's hard to
Grand
believe
Lodge.
It's hard to believe it's already 3 years now we've done this.
Well, it's our fourth year to have this kind of an event. I mean, we had the summit down in Corpus 4 years ago, and now this is going to be our third dinner at Grand Lodge, and it's amazing to me that we've upheld the same amount of people with the same experience, and the only rival dinners are like the Grand Lodge balls and stuff like that, and I would say that they're not even as good as our dinner, in my opinion. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
because
it's something
you don't get
special.
That. Yeah, it really is. It really is. So anyways, I'm excited, as you can tell, and it's confirmed. It's going to happen. And all of our Inner Circle members are definitely invited, as well as our previous attendees. They're invited. But again, it is still vetted. And there is and I'm going to tell you that we had some people come in last minute last year that were dressed inappropriately for the event. This is a suit and tie event only. If you're not wearing a suit and tie, you're going to be turned away. I don't care if you paid for it in advance or not, and there will be no refunds. So make sure you come prepared for the experience that we want our attendees to have. So that's all I got to say about that. And then when's that officer, speaking of OLT, when's that officer leadership training video going to come out? Bolo ties are at my discretion, based off of one of the chat questions. Not everybody can pull it off like you, Daniel, so you'd probably be okay.
Who are you asking about the OLT?
You. Did you release it? The video we had with Chris Galloway?
Oh, no. I released the last part of the Slow It Down video today.
When was? Oh, that was today?
Yeah. So that will be out next.
Yeah, we really need to do that next week, because we got OLT coming up and people need to sign up. So we really need to push that one. Justin and I have been a little bit critical on OLT in the past, and this is our way of making amends, because we have always believed in OLT. We just didn't like some of the things that were happening at the time, and we wanted to make sure that our listeners know that, we learn this stuff by learning from smarter people than us. You should be doing the same thing. It's very obvious when everybody's defining words for me tonight that, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. So y'all need to go elsewhere to get
You're
your
so
smarts.
sensitive.
Your smarts. No, I'm not sensitive. I did know those words. I'm just saying that you just no, I didn't know those words.
Okay.
I'm going to know them though. I'm going to learn them now though. Now that I've been challenged with them. But I do know about the pinky thing. But anyways, it was a good show tonight. I enjoy it. I apologize for being too passionate on some points. I don't think we should shut down lodges just for the sake of shutting down lodges. I think that we should be understanding to where they are and where they plan to be in the next 3 years. If they have a plan to get out of the hole, then great. Then I think it's a good opportunity for them to excel and find their best self and push forward. If they don't, they don't. And lodges are in our hands, right? It's up to us to be the good stewards. So, you guys, I love you. Thank you for coming on. Keep it between the points.